Right, hi guys, so 90mm macro 135 G Master. Can we convert this 135 G Master into pretty much a macro lens? Well, the way to do it is some extension tubes, and you can put multiples of these on, but I'm just going to use two. Unfortunately, I made a mistake and I bought the cheaper ones instead of the slightly more expensive ones, and these are plastic. Don't buy the plastic ones, they are junk. They work, but at the same time there's a little bit of play movement in the actual mount, so you can basically disengage the connections on the back of the camera, or the back of the lens rather, sorry, so you lose f-stop control, and basically it's just annoying. So buy the metal ones. I think they are around between 20 and 30 pounds for a good make. I'll see if I can find some that are actually any good. There are some people out there who have recommended them. These plastic ones are 12 quid on eBay, so I'd stay clear of those personally. These are just going to go in the bin. I've kept them because they're only 12 quid. I'm not that worried about losing 12 quid, you know, for the sake of making a video and actually showing you guys not to buy them. So it's worthwhile in that respect. So obviously dedicated macro lens, 1:1 ratio. I don't know how close we're going to be able to get with the 135 G Master, but I'm sure it's going to be quite good anyway, so that'd be interesting to see. And also the focusing speed is definitely much faster with a more modern dual motor system in the 135 G Master compared to the older style system in the 90mm macro. So let's go and try it out and see what we can get, and see what the focusing is like, and see how close we can actually get as well. So it should be interesting. But I will also stick the extension tubes onto the 90mm macro to see how much closer we can get with that as well. I've already tried it with the 35mm, and the problem is with that is you end up so close to your subject that your depth of field is ridiculous. It's so shallow that it ends up being stupid, and the angle of view just doesn't look right, and it's all a bit crazy. I tried it with the 14mm Samyang, and I was touching the glass on the front of the lens and it's still out of focus. So you can get that close, it is bonkers. So it's going to be interesting to see what a 135 will do. But yeah, so let's have a look, let's have a go. So guys, this is the Sony 90mm macro, and at the moment I'm just hand holding it, and I'm just going to go in as close as I can until it can't focus anymore. I've got it in centre focus. I'm going to aim at that 20p piece at the top, and at the moment I'm shooting f2.8, so the depth of field is going to be quite shallow. So basically somewhere like that, maybe a little bit further. There you go. So it does focus, but then it hunts a little bit. There you go. So it can struggle a little bit, but has always been a bit typical of a macro lens. So quite often with macro lenses I've always shot manual focus, mainly because you set it at 1:1 and you move in and out on your subject, because there is no focusing past 1:1, so the lens can't go any further forwards to try and find focus then to come back again, so they just hunt. So I always found basically stick it on 1:1. So if I show you that now, so I'm at 1:1, so everything's going to be out of focus, and I just bring it in, so there's no autofocus at all, and I will bring it in until I find my focus point. And obviously if I stop down, you'll end up with more in focus, like so. And let's crank the ISO up. There we go. So depending on where we want our focus point, so we look at the 20, there we go. And if you come in and out, so go back into autofocus for film, or video rather. There you go, it's kind of hunting already. So it's already struggling a little bit. And that's with video, so it's a completely different system really anyway. I know it's using the same thing, but it can be slightly different. But that's one reason why I've always just gone manual focus, especially with getting close to stuff, so it just doesn't like it. So it's just one of those things you kind of get used to, and to be honest, manual focusing isn't that much of a drama, really. You can just, there you go, it's not hard. There you go. I'm shooting at f14 by the way, so my depth of field, obviously if I crank it open to f2.8 again, which is why I would never shoot macro really in f2.8 is because your depth of field is so shallow. There you go. Compared to like f14. F14, f16 is what I'm generally at, just to get enough depth, especially when this close. So yeah, anyway, let's swap over. Let's take a few pictures first, and then I'll swap over to the 135 G Master without the extension tubes on, and then I'll put the extension tubes on. So at the moment, guys, this is as close as I can get with the 135 G Master. Pretty far out. 70 centimeters, I think it's minimum. And yeah, obviously that's nowhere near as close as the 90mm macro could get, and I was only a few inches away. So much different. But this lens is incredibly sharp. The depth you can achieve with it is immense. So if we stop it down a little bit to say f9, just increase the ISO a little bit, you can suddenly see the depth appear in the shot, and just a stack of coins. I know it's not all that interesting, but it's quite a lot of detail in there. So from that period of, you know, that kind of view from 70 centimeters away is quite a lot. And you know, you have got, you know, on the A7R4 for example, you have got a 60 megapixel sensor. So for photos you can crop in obviously quite heavily after that if you want to. So you have the scope from this lens to do things like this quite nicely, and I utilise it for product photography quite a bit, and it works really well. Focusing is amazing. Like I say, the depth of field, you can have it super shallow or go nice and deep with it, and it works a dream. Really nice, and you know, really sharp. So, and the focusing, like I say, is impeccable. It's absolutely amazing. So that works really well. So let's take a couple of pictures like this so you can see, and I'll show you the difference between f1.8 and f9 at the moment. So I'll shoot a couple of shots like that so you can see the depth difference and sharpness difference if there's any. It's very sharp even at f1.8. And then we will stick on the extension tubes and go a little bit closer and see what happens. So I'll just put the 135 G Master with the extension tubes on. It's now on its furthest away focus, so it's well out of focus and in manual focus. I'm just going to flick it back to auto and see how quickly it just finds something. There you go. That's in video. It's really quick in the autofocus side of things when you try it with in stills. It's completely different. Focusing with in video, they seem to slow it down quite a bit just to make it more smooth and progressive, to give you give your subject a chance. You know, it gives it a bit more smooth. So that was that. I'm going to show you what it's like with just doing it for stills. So it's super fast, super quick, and you can see how quickly it hits this. And it's at f1.8 at the moment as well, so it's wide open. There you go. So I'm going to manual focus and go right out miles away, and then go back into auto, and it's literally, I'm only focusing on the lower section of the coins here, and it's that fast. And that's the 135 G Master. It's absolutely stupid, absolutely bonkers. It's mega quick. And if I make it hunt, which should be down there, get it to go out again and then show you somewhere like that, it's straight back in again. So having the extension tubes on makes no difference whatsoever, especially on the 135 G Master. The Sony 90mm macro, the autofocus is nowhere near as quick as this. It's still okay, especially on a modern body, something like the A7S3 or the A9 or the A7R4, even the A7R3, it's okay. So yeah, still a brilliant lens, but the whole point is to see how close we can go. So what we're going to do is going to move in closer now and see how close we can actually get compared to the macro. Right, so we're in focus there. I'm just going to bring the camera in. I'm on a tripod, so it could be a bit wobbly. I'm going to recompose, and it's still focusing. And now we are. I actually get a tape measure on this. I actually get a tape measure, which I have got one somewhere. where and how and what and where it is another story. Then there it is. Found it. Right. So originally, I don't know if this is as close as we can go. We'll try in a sec. So where am I focusing? On the back of those coins. So on your camera, you have a little line on the left-hand side generally, with a little circle on it, and that is where your sensor is in line. So that's your focal plane. So we are there at the minute. Yeah, so at the moment we are 57 centimetres away, so I don't know if we can go closer. Let's keep going. It was trying to... Will it do it? I think I'm too close. Yeah, now we've got a purple focusing thing, so let's come back a little bit. Ooh, almost. Let's go for that top coin. If we can stay there, Stu. So it's trying. We're right on that limit, so a little bit further back. You'll probably find it will do it now. There we go. So we have, I think that is pretty much its minimum, which is at right the lowest section quants. Let's go up a little bit. It's not a scientific test. It's just a, for God's sake, take. There we go. So it will do this. Let's have a quick look. Approximate distance is going there. We're on that edge pretty much. There, we're looking at 51 to 52 centimetres, as close. So it's literally come in, what, 20 centimetres or so? Can I get a bit closer? That's the question. Do a little bit more. No, I think that's it, guys. Yeah, it's showing me purple now, so it's not. A little bit further back. No, still won't. Still almost. Hunting again. And this is what happens. So when a lens is right on its limit, it can't focus. You know, that's the trouble. You're so close that it can't focus any closer. So it just starts to hunt. So I'll come back again. And then we've got it. So yeah, I think that is it. So it's about 52 centimetres. So you're looking at 18 centimetres or 19 centimetres closer than you would be originally, which is actually quite a nice size. I mean, you're looking at that sort of size there compared to what we were earlier. It's quite a magnification. So that's not bad at all. So I'm going to take some pictures now and see what it look like and go from there, really. Right, so Sony 90mm macro at f2.8 this shot. As you can see, the depth of field is extremely shallow, and most of the time I'd never ever shoot a macro lens at this aperture unless you really had to and you could stand back a little bit. But as you can see there, stop it down to f16, you suddenly get a little bit more depth. Everything looks a bit sharper because you've stopped the lens down, so you've got more detail and a lot more in focus, so that works. And then to extremes, I pushed it to f22, which is its limit, and as you can see, pretty much it's mostly in focus. And to be honest, it doesn't look much softer. I was actually really impressed on the range through the whole of the lens. Actually, is pretty sharp. It's all usable, that's for sure. You know, it might not be, you know, ultra sharp at f22 or f2.8, but it works. And then onto the Sony 135 G Master at f14, this one. As you can see there, from the closest range it could do without the extension tubes, and then at f22 you can see obviously most of it's in focus. It's lovely and sharp. That lens is awesome. It really is. But obviously you can't get as close generally as the macro lens. And then shooting at wide open, super soft, really shallow depth of field. As you can see there, a couple of the coins are in and out of focus depending on their line in the shot. Compared to the, you know, it just works quite nicely, but it's not really usable as an image. As you can see here, moving on to the extension tubes, we then have the 135 G Master F1.8 with the extension tubes. It's so shallow, it's ridiculous. But look how close we are now. There's no cropping in this shot at all. And then jumping up to F9, so suddenly everything becomes a little bit sharper, a little bit more in focus. We're looking at the 20p piece at the top, really. And then as we go through another
adjustment here to F16. As you can see there, a lot more suddenly becomes sharper, a little bit more in focus. And that's the thing, you know, yeah, it's quite cool to shoot wide open, but a lot of the time you're going to basically ruin the shot because there's so much soft areas of focus that you need more depth to actually show your image properly. You know, otherwise you can, if, for example, if you're photographing a bee or something like that, you might have its eye in focus, but everything else might be soft and blurry compared to what it really needs to be. So, someone always texts me during a recording, but never mind. As you can see here, this one here is the Sony 90mm with an extension tube on, suddenly even closer again, but still relatively sharp. So that's really cool. But then as you can see here, f2.8 completely pointless. There's no point even really photographing something like this. It's just, your depth of field is so shallow, it's absolutely ridiculous. Just literally the tiny edge of that bit of coin. So personally, I would never ever shoot like that. F14 suddenly realised that actually is quite a usable shot, but still, you've only got a very shallow depth of field there. And I think, you know, this is where the stacking ability comes in. So you can actually stack images with different focal points through until you end up with, you know, a sharp image. Even at f22, you can see it just drops off a little bit in the distance there. So, you know, yeah, they do work. The extension tubes are well worthwhile. I mean, for £25, I've found a set. Mikey ones. I'm going to put a link down below. They seem to be the best ones to go for not a lot of money. So if you do want to go that way, it's it could be worthwhile. And for £25-30, it could be a, you know, a nice little thing to have. And they don't, you know, there's no moving parts. There's nothing, you know, there's no optics in them or anything like that. So there's nothing really to go wrong. So yeah, anyways, don't forget to click the subscribe button, little notification bell as well, and look out for some more videos on the way.